Welcome back to Deck Hockey Focus. We have always wondered what it takes to elevate the game when it comes to that international level, and today we will find out. Thank you all again for tuning into Deck Hockey Focus. This is Ryan Shackelford, which makes me Eric Mock. And today we had the privilege of sitting down with George Gortsos I would say someone who is at the absolute pinnacle of the game.
Yeah, the president of the International Street and Ball Hockey Federation. Absolute pleasure and our honor to bring him on. George, how are you?
Fantastic.
All right. Well, glad to have you on. So real quick, just kind of want to introduce everybody, if they don't already know, to George, president of ISBHF. So if you don't mind for a second, just telling us your background, who you are, and kind of how you grew into the game and your current role as president.
Well, it's a big honor to be here. My name is George Gortsos. I'm the president of the ISBHF, and I'm hoping to reach the young Becky Dobsons of tomorrow, Johnny Ruiz's, great young players, and the players who just play the game for fun. With my story, I've been in this sport for 40 years at the highest level, and now I just play for fun. But I'm also the international president, and I a volunteer working for all the nonprofit national sport organizations that I report to. And it's a big honor for me to be talking to the USA family, because I feel that the USA family, as it coalesces under USA Ball Hockey, is going to be a great organization to help us keep this game growing. How did I start? I started just like everybody else, playing in my neighborhood here in northern Toronto, Willowdale. It was a hockey neighborhood. Steve Shutt grew up there, Mark Napier. I was playing ball hockey against Daryl Evans, who is an ex-LA King, and I think is the LA King announcer now. We had a great little league that I played in, and we won that league. And at 23-24, I was thinking, is this it? Is this all I got? Can I just? And I did my homework, and I think it's important that players do their homework. And I found out there was an Ontario association that was linked to a Canadian association. So I basically took my team into that realm, and we got educated pretty quick that we weren't the best. We were pretty good, but back then in the mid-'80s, ball hockey here was where a lot of ice hockey players in the International League, I guess the equivalent would be the East Coast League, would be doing their summer training along with ball hockey players and, pure ball hockey players. And the league was contact. There was a 3-foot line on the outside of the rink where you couldn't hit somebody, but it was full on contact. And it was a fierce game. And I'd say back then in the 80s, Canada had about 40 great teams across the nation. And to be the best, you really had to apply yourself. And thankfully, the forefathers and mothers of the sport decided to make it non-contact, because it wasn't going to grow with the physical contact that was going on back then. And I had to make a decision, because my great team from my neighborhood wasn't going to be good enough. Great guys. They were my childhood friends, and I got selected to play on a team called the Midas Top Guns. I was handpicked and brought on the team with the late Rob Mintus and Chicky Mintus. They were like my brothers back then, and we played on this legendary team, and we ended up going to the Canadian Championships, and it was an education to play on what was known as the best team in Ontario or Canada, because every game you had to come ready to play. And, from there, I ended up playing on national championships, winning national championships. But I always tell, and I'm going to go back to this before I allow you guys to ask me a question. When I coached Canada, I would go across Canada to run camps, and I would say to the players, if you would have told me when I was 20 that I would have been all over Canada playing for national championships, then representing Canada, being the captain of the first team that won a world championship, and then coaching Canada to 4 world championships, followed by being the president of the ISBHF for almost 10 years now, and being all over the world, I would have said you're crazy. But
the evolution of the sport.
Here I am talking to you guys, and you know what? I want the girls and the boys out there to understand that this game can give you a lot, not only in what you search out to find out how good you are or just to play for fun, but it can also help you in your life. I mean, I'm 58 going on 59. I still play for fun. I played 57 ball hockey games this year. And it's like a vitamin of health for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So going back to what I said, if you would have told me when I was 20, I guess my message to the kids out there is, hey, if you love this sport like I did, you just don't know what's ahead. Go out there and enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I think just you personally are a testament to that, what that growth model could be.
Absolutely.
I mean, going from a player to how many gold medal winning coaches, coaching NHL players, future pro ice players, and then the president of, the international level.
And it all starts with the discipline that you learn, at the younger ages, and the work ethic that you not only put in physically, but mentally, and even relationship building within a team, and being held accountable, and then people can springboard that on into their further careers, whether it just be in everyday professional life, or as the president of a top level organization.
Yeah, definitely. So actually, let's parlay that and talk about what are the roles and responsibilities of the president of the International Street Ball Hockey Federation. What does that mean?
Well, the president of the ISBHF is an elected position. It's a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. I am proud to serve at the direction and the union of discussion of the boards that put money into developing the sport. And I need the young people of today to understand that these national organizations, the Czech organization, the Slovak, the Swiss, the CBHA, and now the USA Ball Hockey, put upwards to 20 to 25,000 as a group US dollars for us to develop the sport and to drive the agenda of the sport. All those organizations are what are called non-profit organizations that may have for-profit organizations under them or not-for-profit, but they themselves are a democratic organization. Each of those nations, along with a couple other board members who are elected from all our other nations, create a board. And we meet monthly, and we drive the agenda of the sport. I don't vote, but I use my experience and my moral positive suasion to drive the agenda towards what we have to do as a sport to get it to where we want to get it to. And that's to the Olympic elevator. Now, whether that's the Olympics or the World Youth Games or the Asian Pacific Games or whatever, when you get there, you are in the pantheon of all the world sports, the FIFAs, the FIBAs, et cetera, and they actually all meet every year, and we want to get there. We're only 23 years old, but we are now driving that agenda to get there. And through the generosity, the benevolence, and we're not just talking money. These 5 lead organizations, of which USA Ball Hockey is one. The time all those ambassadors, along with me, put in on these meetings. These are 2-3 hour meetings. We're going to have our annual general meeting. And this is important for the young players of today to educate themselves and understand what's going on, especially in today's world, that for us, this is the only organization in the world for our sport that does it this way. They've actually now put term limits on the president, so I can run for one more term. But, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding for us. The board I started with is now being replaced by a young board. So all these organizations vote ambassadors in every year. So I'm dealing with a great young group of leaders that when it's my time to leave, and that will be soon, I think that our sport will be in a great place. And I really, with this group, driven it towards the Olympic elevator. And one final thing, when I first got elected, the number one thing I said, and I remember it was in Paris, I was right by the Eiffel Tower, in the Czech embassy. It's mind-blowing. That was the first time I got elected. I said, the number one thing this sport needs is a USA group that works as a national organization and brings together all the families of USA Ball Hockey to be in union for the betterment of that country, for the betterment of their players, and also to be a driver of the international agenda. And I think I'm quite proud of that whole organization, because they're a board and they're driving USA towards that.
No, absolutely. And obviously you can tell not only your passion, but that leadership you're exuding and exhibiting is what's really kind of growing that. And not only, financially, like you talked about, those countries that are investing, but their time alone. But I do want to just kind of parlay that last statement you made about the United States and talk about, just real quick, the induction of USA Ball Hockey into the ISBHF. And what does that mean for us here in the United States, but also on the international level?
Well, first of all, you have to realize all the international families, more than anything, wanted to see an organization that was going to bring USA Ball Hockey, going to be kind of like a gathering spot where democratic, constitution, elected officials, a think tank. And I think besides the fact that the USA is going to be a level 4 nation, as a level 4 nation, because they are investing in the sport, they automatically get a board spot in our organization for that goodwill. But what will it do for the USA is it will bring people together. It will give all the avenues of the game an opportunity to come together, whether it's regionally, whether it's types of play, 3-on-3, 5-on-5. And it is our hope that this organization will bring all these leaders together to drive where the USA is going, and also to help drive the international agenda. For instance, if 3-on-3 becomes, and I'm hopeful it does, become a part of USA Ball Hockey, then as one of the key level 4 partners of our family, they can be the people that bring the 3-on-3 along with everything else they're doing at 5-on-5 to the table, and we can start those discussions, right? So there, for me, what I'm hoping is that player in California or Texas or Chicago or in Iowa where you're at, or wherever, feels like they are attached to this international body through USA Ball Hockey. And they can feel like when they see world championships, or they can go to Masters championships, or to, 3-on-3, like they feel like they're all a part of this great ball hockey family.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that was kind of one of the next questions, is more future state of what is your kind of thought process or, plan, so to speak, of like maybe the growth model.
Well, exactly. We've already seen some of that starting to take place with, us here stranded in the Midwest, as we feel sometimes, now being in contact a lot more between the 3-on-3 guys, the 5-on-5 guys, even bringing in some new ice players and things. So, what's the strategy to kind of bring everyone together?
Well, the strategy, first of all, for me at the ISBHF, is to make sure that our properties, what we do as a world championship, or when we do events, that they are run in an excellent fashion for our players. And the reason why they're run well is because the countries that run these events are proud to host them. And they partner up with their governments, and the ISBHF events are professionally run, and we're not professional. What can be done as a growth model is more individualistic amongst each nation, because you have to realize USA Ball Hockey has never had a union that tries to coalesce everybody. The CDHA has been a union since 1977. The Czechs have been a union since the 90s, the Slovaks, the Swiss. So they've had time to build their models. With USA Ball Hockey, you're dealing with this beautiful new child with a lot of possibilities, and the possibilities really are yours, and that should be exciting for you and for the players, right?
Absolutely.
100%.
I always said, as a player, and I'm talking about me, when I was talking about I was playing in my neighborhood and we were winning championships, you can, as a player, you can fool yourself and say, hey, I'm the best in the world, or I'm very good. If you satisfy yourself to know that what you are playing is the best, I wasn't happy with that. When I wanted as a player to know that I could say I was the best, I wanted to understand where the best played, and I wanted to understand totally where I had to go as a player to get there. So now here I am at 58. The last 15, 20 years, when I coached, I stopped playing, but now I'm playing again. I know I don't have to tell anybody that I was playing against the best, and I was part of teams that won 5 Canadian championships and, a world championship, and coached for 4 world championships. That gives me a lot of, when I think about it, it makes me feel good. There's a lot of championships out there, but there's only one place where you really truly know that you're the best. And if you, as a player, want to really truly walk around and say you're the best, well, you better find out where that is, and you better get your ass over there to make sure that you can say you are the best. And this is where the players have to educate themselves, and this is where I think USA Ball Hockey is going to be great for all the players out there, because they need to know there's a truthful voice out there that isn't just there just to jerk them along, right? Mm-hmm. And it's important. And, for me, I hope that the players out there who aspire to be the best in the world know that it's right here at the ISBHF.
The competitive spirit is alive and well in North America. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like you hit at, we're all weekend warriors here too, right? We have day jobs. We use a term at work, it's called better together. And I think that almost summarizes what we're just talking about between 5-on-5, 3-on-3, Iowa, California, Texas, the East Coast. How do we know what the USA is going to be better if we're not doing it together?
So many pockets of talent bringing them together.
Exactly. I think that's what George is hinting at. But certainly.
Well, and you know what, guys? I think I was talking to you before we started. When I coached Canada, and it was a great honor. And one day, let's say you guys are coaching, hopefully when you are part of USA Ball Hockey, the 3-on-3 team that represents USA at the under 18 or the end. When you coach a national team, for me, I felt very strongly that I had to go out and go across Canada, this big country here in Canada, and give guys at that time a chance to play for Canada. So I ran camps, and I remember back then I did it through the internet, and I would say, do you have, like my poster said, do you have what it takes? And I mean, we would run those camps. We did fitness testing. I practiced them into my kind of like ball possession, thought process, attacking ball hockey. I taught them what they needed to know about international ball hockey. And then we put them on teams. We had trainers that made the dressing rooms feel like they were in an international. I wanted those players to feel that. And then after running those camps, and from 2000 to 2006, I ran 20 camps. And the money that those players paid went right in, beside their expenses, went into the national team program. But more importantly, it built our depth. I found a lot of players, but any player that would come to the camp would get a response back from me, what they needed to work on, where they were fitness-wise. And it really allowed Canada in this, the Czechs, the Slovaks, they're amazing players. The Finns now are coming. The UK is growing quickly. The Swiss are coming. USA is going to be, has been and will be even more of a powerhouse to win against the best. That depth, I would run these camps, and then I would bring the best 60 players together for a final camp and make them earn their way. Well, Canada won 4 world championships in a row and has not won since I've left as a coach, and the camp program has not been run in Canada. I'm hearing that they're going to run it, but you guys were talking reaching all areas of the USA. I think that's exactly what the mindset should be. There's a kid sitting, let's say, in New Mexico who loves hockey, doesn't know about this. He could be a phenom. She could be a phenom. We got to get to them.
I think it speaks to the accessibility of the sport. And like you were saying, that constructive feedback and constructive criticism of how do you develop that player who might be on the cusp of making that national team and being an elite player, but just doesn't know how to get there yet or doesn't understand the fine tuning. And I think what you're talking about in that coaching, those camps and that strategy is what led to that success and something I think all countries should develop.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm sure there are kids out there today that, they might not even have access to the hockey world, and ball hockey can be, that first
outlet avenue,
that first dip. So instead of this kid going off and being a superstar soccer player or a superstar baseball player, we want them with a stick in their hand.
Absolutely. And
here's where, the 5-on-5 and the 3-on-3 being a union in USA could be to your betterment, because there may be pockets where they don't have a lot of players, and 3-on-3 may be the only way you get them in. And for me, internationally, with my international family, let's say I'm dealing with a country like that's a member with us now, like Algeria. They may want to only attend a 3-on-3 ISBHF championship, and that's okay. Right? So, I think it's about building platforms and understanding that those platforms in union are to our betterment. And the thought process has to be, even for a league operator who's usually very careful about, protecting his or her business, I think it's good business to be together, because you're only going to create more energy and more interest. And as you build that platform, and I'm hopeful guys like yourselves are in it with the great people in USA Ball Hockey has, I'm going to tell you guys, the people they got are so well respected and fantastic people. What you guys could do, guys and gals could do together, I'm going to be sitting back watching. Hopefully I get voted in for my final 2 years, but I'll be sitting back there watching, cheering and watching. And I think the sky's the limit. I really do. And who wins? When the players support a union like USA Ball Hockey, and let's face it, a democratic organization that works together, pushes the agenda, builds the legislation, the sky's the limit. It really is. And the players will benefit.
So absolutely agree. I think that level of transparency you're talking about for the United States, Canada, Europe, all those countries we're talking about, the more each of us grow individually, and the better it is collectively. So that level of transparency is absolutely amazing. But speaking of the Piedmont, so to speak, or the apex for amateur athletes, I think everybody collectively agrees that's the Olympics.
Oh, absolutely.
So I know there's the dream and the idea of the Olympics, but is there a plan or process and thought to get this sport
what does it take
to that level?
What does it take to get over the hurdle?
Well, we've already, again, we're the only organization that's doing this. We've met with them. We've gone over. We've studied. We know what needs to be done. We're asking it of our federations. Essentially, USA Ball Hockey is, just newly born, but they're already a nonprofit organization. They have a constitution. I'm sure they'll have an annual general meeting. They have to have all their financials audited. These are what organizations need to do. And sooner or later, when it's right for USA Ball Hockey, they're going to have to go to the major sporting organization of the USA to get vested as the organization that runs ball hockey for the USA. When we have a certain number of those, we're going to be able to get, as a union, to the table with the FIFAs and the FIBAs and et cetera. So we're in the process now where we're about, in the next 6 to 12 months, about 50% of the way where we need to be. So we're, as a 23-year-old international organization, we've changed. We're evolving. We understand now that we need certain criteria to build what's called the National Sport Organization. And no longer can it just be, Johnny come lately, who's a president of whatever and just runs the organization by themselves, for themselves. It just doesn't work. You're not going to do it. And it has to be under a nonprofit sporting organization. So that has democracy and has financial, audits done on its finances. So where we go with this, the sky's the limit. I think our sport is an interesting sport. I think with the 5-on-5 and 3-on-3, it gives that, if 3-on-3 comes on board, it gives us a viability to be able to maybe be involved in different types of events that the Olympics run. They're getting onto the street games. They're getting onto the smaller 3-on-3 stuff. The 5-on-5 could have its place here and there. But anyway, to get on the Olympic elevator, we need to get our national sport organizations, and we need 20 of those to be at observer status, and we need 40 to become a full member. So we're working on that.
Well, that's good. We've seen, speaking to the effect of the Olympics, I think when most people think Olympic level hockey, they're obviously thinking ice. And we've seen what the capabilities of the USA and Canada as well, so to speak, what they're capable of on the ice. So what I want you to do for me is make the pitch to the 12-year-old ice hockey player who is looking to springboard forward as they start to develop into an adult, and what is the benefit to an ice hockey player of taking off the skates?
Well, for me, besides everything else, I did coach AAA ice hockey here, so I had guys like Mike Camilleri on my team and playing at the highest level. So I understand it. And I also played at the highest level and coached at the highest level. And the guy that really comes to me right away is Alexander Burrows. I coached Alexander when he was 20 to 23. And I guess that's the best example I can give in that Alexander's growth through understanding how to position his body and to move, traverse the floor of ball hockey and the fitness level he needed to be at. I think without ball hockey, I think his road would have been a little bit more difficult than it was. And I think ball hockey helped Alexander in his confidence, in his ability to know that when we were playing at the world level, he was playing at a level that he knew he would have to play at the American Hockey League, and it really helped catapult him. And I think the sport itself, for a young girl or a young boy, is a great sport because you have to run, you have to use your body positioning, you have to understand how to handle the ball, give and goes, run off the ball. There's so many benefits that ball hockey gives. And, I can't even start to name all the players I played against who went into the NHL that played ball hockey.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to add to that. You see that more recently with like Callan Wild, who is playing in Toronto, former ECHLer who just retired. Mike Monfreda, who used to play here locally, actually just got traded from Orlando to South Carolina. He's big into the sport, and you can see the longevity of their careers because during the summertime, they're not only in the gym, they've got a ball in their hand as well.
Absolutely.
Well, another guy that I played against that ended up having a great NHL career was Glenn Metropolitan. He played, when I was playing on the Fernview Rangers and we were knocking heads against the Midnight Express, we played against each other, and it was, he helped, playing ball hockey helped Glenn move to that next level, and hey, sometimes, when I played for Canada, I played against the late Pavel Demitra. Let me tell you, he was a good ball hockey player. But, there were some other guys that played in the NHL, and I won't mention them, that weren't as good as us top-level ball hockey players, So some players, are very good at both. Some are good at one, and some are good at the other. But for those that are able to maneuver themselves and have the passion to do the running of ball hockey, there's a lot of, benefits. And I can't think of a guy that that garnered more of a benefit than Alex. And let me tell you, he was a joy to coach. Alex was a wonderful guy.
Well, and obviously a great ambassador for the sport, and still is with his, the Burroughs Tour and everything he's still doing for the game and heavily involved.
We've nice enough to come on the show with us and give us a little bump there too. So I mean,
we've had a pleasure of bringing him on and meeting him. So just his approach to the game and that background speaks volumes to what can be done with the sport.
Well, and here's the thing about Alex, and he runs that 3-on-3 in Quebec, but he is not part of our family, unfortunately. And again, this is something that will have to be decided between the Canadian Ball Hockey Association, who puts in a lot of time and money into the ISBHF, and I'm hoping that people like Alex and the 3-on-3 organizations come into our organization, and we take off and go running as a family. But I cannot, I'm never going to be the one to overstep my bounds. I respect each nation. I respect the challenges that they have, but my hopes is exactly, I think, where you guys are. The benefits of being together far outweigh not. And I will tell you another thing. It's easy for people to say, oh yeah, this sport should be in the Olympics. I want you guys to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There is no other organization in the world for our sport that is doing the hard slogging and the work, fundamental work that needs to be done to get us to where we need to go, other than the ISBHF. No other organization has the democracy, the financial check, and the meeting of the minds, the union of the minds to lead the sport forward. We're the only one. And I say that in a humble way, because it's a lot of hard work.
Well, it's what it takes to get the sport going forward. And I guarantee you, if anybody had any doubts about if we were heading in the right direction or if there was passionate people behind the wheel,
I think we might have clarified that.
I think we've got clarity now, exactly. But I mean, it just seems like you've had it seems like you've lived 1,000 lifetimes just in the course of this interview, and I feel like I've taken that journey with you, as Shackelford, I'm sure, would agree. But if you had to put your thumb down on one moment in time that you could travel back and relive it one more time, what would you say is the highlight?
Wow.
Speechless.
You know what? Yeah.
That's the first time.
Look at this.
The highlight is that ball hockey has been my life. I mean, the best way I can do it is to say to the players out there exactly where I started. Like, it's kind of unbelievable to believe what I've been part of, the great people I've met. But, from somebody that just plays the game and just plays it for fun. For instance, when I moved from that team that was my neighborhood team to the big team, well, I had to make some sacrifices. I had to stop drinking beer. I read a book by Dr. Robert Haas called Eat to Win, which taught me I had to drink lots of water, eat properly, prepare properly. I wanted to become a ball hockey machine. I learned how to get my body ready to perform at a high level. Then, when I coached, I stopped playing altogether. I wanted to concentrate on coaching, teaching the guys what I learned. And now, as I age and I'm still playing and I'm volunteering and I'm trying to lead the sport with all these great young leaders around me, I realize, hey, you know what? I still got to try now as I get older I got to change what I eat a little bit because I'm not burning off fat the way I used to. And I want to keep playing, but, after about 4,000 games, my legs are starting to hurt. And this year I played 58, 57 games, and maybe next year I got to play 40, 45. I got to really, but what is that? That's a ball hockey life. So it's given me health. I have a very demanding job that it's given me an education to be able to work in the different team units I am in at work. So you guys are talking to me about, it's just been a ball hockey life. And it's, I owe my health to it. I owe my work life to it. I own the fact that I've gotten to see the world and see some amazing ball hockey games and players and be part of them as a player. I'm looking forward to seeing this family grow now with this USA ball hockey thing. And, as I come down the runway here, I think the game is now, there's so many possibilities. And for me, I think I feel that's the greatest thing I feel. I feel very hopeful for the players of tomorrow that their leaders, and they have to push their leaders too, to get part of this whole big family and get it rolling even stronger towards where we need to take this beautiful game. So I'm sorry, guys. It's been a life of ball hockey.
No, that's okay. And, I definitely appreciate the candidness there. And if I were to just summarize that statement, is it fair to say it's not an actual moment in time, but time itself and your involvement in the game that has been the most rewarding for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's taught me how to deal with adversity. Hey, listen, life hasn't been always easy. There's ups and downs, but what helps me through it, and I want the young players to understand, ball hockey is a great escape. It's a great place to go and see the gang of girls or guys that, will put a smile on your face. You go play, you go pot a goal, or you set up a couple assists and you go home. And all of a sudden you forgot a little bit about all those things, and it helps you. It gives you strength, right? And there's the health element. I'm convinced at my age, I've never had a major issue. I had no knee problems, but then again, I was a fitness freak. I really trained for ball hockey, and I ate properly. I drank my water. I did not go out there during the season. In our heyday, we were playing 100 games in the summer. I wasn't eating burgers. I wasn't eating desserts. I was eating properly. I found the time, when I should eat and get ready to play. It was, and you know what? I still think that way, and I think it helps me, right? It's my ball hockey has given me my fundamental. It's been my life clock, and it's been 40 years. You know what, guys? I don't know what the hell I'm going to do when my term ends. But you know what? Maybe it's time for me to find out. But geez, it's been one hell of a ride.
Well, you've certainly got our vote, that's for sure.
Well, George, we definitely appreciate you having on. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor for us here at Deck Hockey Focus to be having this conversation, an in-depth conversation with somebody which clearly a leader in the community and the breadth of experience you have. Like, honestly, This last half hour has just been a learning experience for me personally, and definitely appreciate it.
It's super important for people to see what's behind the works as well, and just the passion that, is kind of guiding the sport.
Yep.
Well, guys, I hope to see the girls and the guys of all our families come together. And I look forward to you guys walking up to me one day saying, hey, a lot of people call me coach. They go, hey, coach, I'm here now. And I think that'll put a smile on my face, because I know you guys bring kids and get them out playing. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We need to get the children out there playing, running, doing stuff. And it's a lot to the betterment of our society that they play this great game of ball hockey, because it is a great game, and I think it's a lot of fun. So I thank you for what you do, and I look forward to hopefully hearing news that you're part of this great USA ball hockey family that's going to be an awesome organization for the players of your country. And there's some wonderful players in that country, and we want to get them all part of the ISBHF family. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. And like I said, it's been our absolute honor and pleasure to have you on. And honestly, I do hope one day we can walk up and call you coach and meet you in person, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, George.
I want to reiterate again what a privilege it was to sit down with George today. His passion for the game just exudes out. I mean, leave it to a Canadian to get me feeling so patriotic.
No, honestly, I think that's probably the best way we can round out 2019 here. Looking forward to 2020. Just wanted to, from everybody at Deck Hockey Focus, say thank you to you guys for our growth this year and our continued success. We look forward to 2020. And as we round out the year, just wanted to say, please have a happy and safe holiday. Looking forward to the future.
100%.
Your thoughts?
Yes. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Everything we have is on Deck Hockey Focus, as well as on all the major applications, iTunes, SoundCloud, stuff like that. So don't forget to look us up there and subscribe. It really does help us out a lot. Just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, and we'll see you guys next year.